And going into the schools, I recognized that many of the resource material were not written by Rastafari, and in some respect, people were insensitive to Rastafari. And so I decided to challenge that reality.
Greetings and welcome to another episode of this Reggae Music Show. Today's guest is a really special one. His name is Yasus Afari. Greetings, Rastafari.
Greetings, saRas. It's an honor to be a part of the This Reggae show. And we have familiarized ourselves a bit, me knowing a little bit more about you and where you are coming from, where you are, and where you are going. And so we're happy and honored to add value, we hope, to what you are doing.
For real. Yes, I. Yasus, would you mind to introduce yourself in terms of, telling us something a little bit more about Yasus before Yasus Afari? Like your childhood, where you're from, and how you grew up, and what were your interests when you were a little child?
Okay, yeah, sure. I was born in deep rural Jamaica, a parish called St. Elizabeth, a district called Rose Hall. We were born in a household without electricity, running water, radio, clock, television, and that sort of stuff. We would have, to look for the feeding for the rabbits and goats and even pigs, and we'd have to walk to fetch water, walk long distances to school, look firewood to cook. The kitchen would be outside, external to the house, or storeroom. And so that was giving the idea of like a rural African village. I was from a single parent home, and so we were taught, you know, virtues from the feminine perspective, to be honest, to be hardworking, to be God-fearing, and so on. And so we aspired for education as a means of social mobility. And so we attended Rosa Basic and College School, Junction Secondary, St. Elizabeth Technical High School, worked with Jamaica Telephone Company for a while, which introduced me to the concepts of telepathy. And then we got a scholarship to the College of Arts, Science and Technology, now known as University of Technology. There we studied industrial instrumentation, and they recited Rastafari, and then we started performing poetry on stage. I was the vice president for the student union, and part of that responsibility was to develop cultural and social parts of the school community. And so I did that, and I also contributed in the sense of both production and performance. I worked with telephone company. Well, I mean, after telephone company, I worked with Jamaica Public Service for a while, and then we started to venture into poetry and other aspects of creativity. And then we met other members of the Christian
What age
Social.
were you when you start to get interested into poetry?
Well, all right. In 1977, I was attending the St. Elizabeth Technical High School, and I was asked to write a poem for a class project. And reflecting on my childhood experiences, I wrote a poem entitled The Traveling Son. At that time, I was in my mid-teens, and the teacher, Mrs. Alga McDonald, read it to the class and said I should continue writing, and that we did. So I was introduced to poetry at around, 16, 17, thereabout.
Okay.
Um, and then, we continued writing throughout life as the teacher admonished me. And we started recording professionally in the mid to late 80s. The first recording that came out was with GG Records, Mr. Wrangling, GG Records. It was
So how
on
you
the,
decide to go from the poetry to actually recording it? What was the passage?
Well, it's a long story, but the short version of it is that I got an inspiration when I was with telephone company that I should, go to cast and I'll find a way that would lead my passage through life. I didn't quite know what it would have been. I suspected it might have something to do with trade union movement, since I was involved in the trade union at telephone company, and I was a friend of some students who were members of the student union. And at that time, remember this was I was a telephone company in I was at Stets in the 70s, telephone company in the early 80s, and cast in the mid 80s when we had a certain level of political consciousness, black
Yeah.
consciousness, Afrocentricity. And so, we cared about the interests of the people, we cared about labor laws and union movement. Anyhow, when we were at cast, we discovered I had a passion for poetry. And then when I was organizing a fundraising event for the Commerce Department, I decided why not try to do one of my poems on stage as an
Okay.
offering. And so we did that, and the feeling that we got, the response, the reception, the feeling, the energy, the empowerment, the upliftment, I just decided then and there that this was it. And so, we always aspired to record. And by then, we would have known of Orlando Wang, later Okonura, Mikey Simit, Linton Kwesi Johnson, Muta Baruka, Benjamin Zephaniah, and others. And so we saw that it was a possibility to put poetry to music. Before then, I was really into Pablo Moses, Bob Marley, Sugar Minott, Bonnie Wheeler, Jimmy Cliff, and some of the others. And
True.
so we didn't recognize, I didn't like DJing, even though I could. I didn't recognize myself as a singer. So recognizing that the other poets did an art form which somehow resembled what I was doing was quite liberating. And so we started to bridge that gap now between writing and reciting the poems on stage. I was associated with the school band, both at Stets and at Cass. So that helped as well. I was comfortable with the music. And so the transition was almost natural.
True. Well, good. I know that you've been collaborating a lot with Garnet Silk. So how those collaboration came about? What was your relationship with the great Garnet?
Well, I don't know if it's a lot, We did 3 songs together, of which I produced 2, and Court Nicole produced 1. We did some dub plate for a few sound systems, which ended up on CDs. I found out about some of them in Australia, actually. but officially it's only 3. What happened is that, what was the year again? I think it was very late to very early 90s. I was introduced to Garnet Silk in Mandeville by a mutual friend at the time, Tony Reverend. And he started asking me about Rastafari. And that was maybe the major part of our focus, Rastafari. And then, after that, that was like the context. And after that, certainly the music and what we could have done in the music to bring about a certain level of African and Rastafari consciousness. And so that was really what happened eventually. And then I produced his first birthday bash in April 1993. And then I produced the first 3 Rebbe Salute. And we did some other stuff with the Christian Soldiers, Yasus Afari and Friends in concert, tour in Jamaica, in the school tour. We supported Everton Blender in his events, birthday bash as well as Youth and Green and some of the others. And things evolved from there.
True. So one of the songs that you and him collaborating, it was the one I Can See Clearly, right?
Yeah, which is the one that most people know. We did I Can See Clearly. I think it was 1992 for Court
True.
Nicole of Roof International. But we also did I-10 which I produced on my Senior Com label. And we
Skylarking.
also did where Skylarking is not an official recording, that's a dub plate.
Okay, see?
That's one of the
And
one I alluded to earlier. But the other one is People Dancing, which went to
yeah,
top 10 in Japan. People
true. Wow.
Dancing came out on my Dancehall Baptism album, which was released through Ras Records of Washington. And so those are the three official releases, the official recording that we did. All the others are, people being creative with dub plates and stuff like that.
Why the choice of that song in particular to make a remix of the I See Clearly now? Is there any particular reason?
Well, sure, with all the things without a reason. Um, we're quite happy. It wasn't intentional, certainly not on my part. It's a long story though, but the short version of it is that Court Cole invited us to the studio to record for him. So, they were playing the hip hop soap rhythm, and I was doing my own thing. He was doing his own thing. And him like to call me ISOS. So him say, ISOS, you know how long we want me, you know how long we want me in the studio together. You can't leave the studio today and me and do a song together, To be very honest with you, I've never yet thought about doing a combination with anyone. What some people don't know really is that Garnet Silk is one of my biggest fans, as well as Ducky Simpson of Black Uhuru. I am also one of their biggest fans and supporters and admirers. And so if Garnet Silk wants a combination, then Garnet Silk will get a combination. And so, all right then, Silk, let me hear what you say. And him sing, the song which I recognize as Johnny Nash's. So I said, hold on it. I wanted to listen to him deeper, not just the words, but the subtle nuances of his vocal delivery. And so him sing it again. And him say, I sauce. And me say, wash your troubles, wash them all away. Come back to work to find a new day. Just like that. And I say, wow, how it sound? President Brown was in the studio. Jigsy King, Brushy One String, Barry O'Hare, Professor Frisky, Mickey T, Diplomat, and the whole crew. And the man say, how it sound? Man, go and quick go record it before you forget it. And that song started playing before I reached home. At the time I was living in Mandeville. And the song started playing before I reached home. People saying to me, oh, me hear you and a white girl do a song. Oh, me hear you and a girl do a song. Oh, me hear you and a Garnet Silk do a combination. And I said, hello, you're mixing me up. And so, because I hear it so much, by the time I reach home, I call Court Cole and say, what go on? Court Cole start laughing and Silk was still with him. And they brought it back to IRFM. I think it was Umoja Benaya. They gave it to first. And IRFM took the song like a relay. The other disc jockey would leave the other disc jockey and start playing it. So it will play like 8 times for the day. And it became like an instant hit.
So do you think which one do you reckon is like one of your biggest hits so far?
Well, I don't even know, some don't really think in terms of hits, but how the thing will resonate with the people and will give me that confidence and that connection with the people. But having said that still, certainly I can see clearly is a significant milestone for Silk and myself. The song that I did with Black Uhuru, well, one of the songs I did with Black Uhuru, in particular, Brand New World, which came out on one of their Grammy-nominated albums, in terms of that sold quite a lot across the world, and it got nominated on a Grammy-nominated album. But there was also Patwa Talking. There was also Crown Him that we did for Bobby Digital, which went #1 in Zimbabwe. There was also Put It In, which went #1 in Jamaica, and kind of created a certain level of awareness and vibe around I both in the dancehall and beyond. We had a song called Poetry Canyon, which went to #1 and several charts around the world, including La Danza Poetica, which is a poetry chart. But, you know, I mean, quite a few of my other songs really resonated with people. My mother who fathered me, Fury Sound, which I did many dub plates for top sounds around the world. Addis, Mighty Crown, Stone Love, African Star, Silverhawk, and then Conquering Lion, and the list
You
continues.
named it. Yeah.
Yeah, so in a sense, you know, all those songs help to bring I to national and regional and international attention, and you know, let a few more people know about who I am and what I was trying to do.
Definitely. So, what about the song, as you mentioned before, Put It In? It was, can you talk to me about this song? I heard that you had a roots drink called Put It In. Is that right?
Okay, here what happened now. You see, in the 90s, when we came to the scene with our little Lenny gun in a baggie and now the ranks, our sister Charmaine and Angel, Shabba Ranks, Ninja Man, and you know the others were the message kind of different, and we never really want to subscribe to that. So we were thinking to overwhelm the dancehall and the reggae music with a certain level of consciousness. So we were
True.
really seeking creative ways and means not to prostitute our principles, but to still reach the people and to be relevant and to be relatable even in that environment and that atmosphere. And so Put It In came out of that quest, I would say. So if you notice, it was skillfully and delicately crafted with the nuances and the subtleties to appeal to the appetite at the time,
True.
but to still bring the energy to another space. And so it came out of that, and Garnet Silk begged me not to record it. Long story. Because I'm the founder for the Christian Soldiers Movement, and people looked up to us in a certain way. And him know I and I dignity and integrity to a certain level. So him never questioned that, but him knows that people might question us by virtue of their misinterpretation of the intention and the content of that song. And so, you know, we listen to each other. So, you know, we bore that in mind. But at a certain point now, I opened a restaurant, Burlington Avenue, called House of Honor. And some get an inspiration, say, the people ready for that song. And so I decided to, and out of the blue, I was doing some work with Big Ship, baby Freddie McGregor's studio. That time, the genius, Stephen McGregor was there, was my little soldier, Chino, and then Barry Clark, whose label is BCR, was one of the imprints. Jason, Jermaine Ford, the son of Brinsley Ford, was also there as well. And so
Okay.
they sent a rhythm to me and said they want me to come to the studio to voice a song. And when I went into the studio, it was unbelievable. The rhythm that they played fit perfectly, Put It In. So we kind of use that as a kind of a sign, as a symbol that yes, the people was ready. And so I paid tribute to Garnet Silk in the song. I changed a line as I remember Garnet as we gather some facts. I don't know if you listen carefully, you would have heard that as well. And so we kind of bring the whole thing together, still showing loyalty to our intentions and methodologies and to the overstanding that we had, but knowing that we had to update and respond to the moments. And so that came about. Now, I was introduced by a youth named Brian Hart, to a drink. I don't remember what it was called at the time. And I adopted it and rebranded it and give it the name Put It In. Playing with some of the perceptions and misperceptions as well.
True.
And so that did exception that did exceptionally well, and both for the song and the song did for it. And I actually produced the video, not even the producer produced it. I produced it. I invested in the venture and benefited from it as well in many respects. And so that was how that came about, you know.
Yeah, man. Give thanks for this background, of this history. Yes, I. And so, I know that you wrote some book as well. Would you like to talk about this side of your life?
Well, yes, I've written 3 books so far. The first of which is I Pen, which is really poetry and philosophy. That came out in 1999. And we also did Overstanding Rastafari, Jamaica's Gift to the World, which is a national and international bestseller, which is being used by many universities around the world, including the University of West Indies, Victoria University in New Zealand, and in recent years, Oxford University in England. They use it as a reference text for a series that they do for religious studies in the Caribbean, and they have me as a resource person for 3 texts that they have published so far. And many other people use it both in the penal justice system, in education, university level, gender studies, and food and nutrition, and comparative religion, and literatures in English, and so. So that was how that, and that came about by something that I proposed to the Ministry of Education, Youth and Culture, as our education ministry was designated at the time. It has since changed. Culture is separate from education now. But at the time, the minister was Burchell Whiteman, and I put a proposal to him speaking to using culture in education, the teachings of Marcus, Miss Lou, and other indigenous expressions. And so they adopted that, and that gave birth to the Culture Agency program in Jamaica, which later gave birth to Jamaica Day celebration, as well as cultural entrepreneurship and cultural tourism, of which I contributed to the government's policy document in those fields. So I was one of the first culture agents, and going into the schools, I recognized that many of the resource material were not written by Rastafari, and in some respect, people were insensitive to Rastafari. And so I decided to challenge that reality. And so I took some of the themes and topics from the Caribbean Examination Council, which was the regional examination board that succeeded the English-based ones, like AEB and London and Cambridge and ULCI and so on. And so in that CXE curriculum, they had Rastafari as a indigenous cultural and religious expression of the Caribbean. And so we used the themes and topics from the curriculum and from some of the questions that were asked of us by both students and teachers and other educators alike, and on some of my travels, in particular my travels to Sao Paulo, Brazil. I met a lot of university students there who asked me a whole lot of questions. And so we used some of those. Yeah, we use some of those to inspire and inform Overstanding Rastafari, Jamaica's Gift to the World. So it has 21 chapters dealing with a whole range of things relevant and pertinent to education, to people who have an interest in our culture, and so on. And so that was how that book came about and was published in 2007. And then in 2016, I did a book called Vocal Ink, the Mental Intercourse. So Overstanding has nothing to do with poetry as such, but Vocal Ink and iPen, they are really poetry. While iPen was poetry and philosophy, Vocal Ink is almost like a poetic novel or a novel poetry book. So you have elements of prose and poetry combined. And so through my company, Seniacom, we have a branch called Seniacom Publishing. We also have Seniacom Edutainment and Seniacom Records. But through Seniacom Publishing, we published a book called Making Kenke from Memory, The Sankofic Journey, which was written by Kabu Mahat Keru, who was the director of programming at IRFM at the time. And so we have several manuscripts that we're reviewing, both for ourselves and for others. So you can look out for some more publication from Senacom Publishing.
Good, good. Yes, you kept your life quite busy, yeah?
We
You
have
are
a
a
purpose.
true,
We have a purpose to
true
which we are
artist.
committed. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have a purpose to which we are committed. So we don't have no time for waste, no time for linger. We do what we have to do, what we can do. And we have been highly blessed and highly favored. We have been furnished by the powers of His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, and to be resourced with the necessary skills and resources to fulfill the purpose. So we don't waste no time. We don't have no time for kid no teeth.
True. You definitely don't waste any time, I can see. Yes, I. So, in regarding, what is your relation with you and like say Mutabaruka?
Well, he's a, what I would say is a fellow poet. He's one of the cornerstone pioneer, what they call dub poets, as well as, man like Oka Onura, Linton Kwesi Johnson, Benjamin Zephaniah. But in particular, there must be a reason why you asked me specifically about Muta. Muta has been very supportive of my events that I've produced, more specifically Poetry in Motion, which has been going on for 19 years. Muta was at the very first inaugural staging, evidently, as well as Jamaica Poetry Festival. And we have done quite a bit of work in that regard. I did an album which came out February 2020, that last year, called Dub Poetry in Your Face, which again featured himself alongside Gene Breeze, Levi Tafari, Malachi Simit, TYCR, Kabu, Professor Barr, and quite a few others. And we toured Bermuda together. We toured Ghana together. We toured Ethiopia together. And in the 23rd of February 1993, I think it was, he was nominated for the Jammy Awards, Jamaica Music Industry Awards, which was held at the Pegasus Hotel annually. And I was also nominated, but I was a guest performer on the show. He wasn't performing that year. And so he won the award, but he called me up on stage and said I was more deserving of it. I refused. I was reluctant to accept it. His name was on it. He did not award himself, so I didn't have a problem with that. But he insisted, and there was a stalemate, a standoff, like. And I got an inspiration, and I turned to the people and said, "We are in a democratic country, and we are seeking a consensus. What should I do?" Oliver Samuels, who was one of our most popular comedians, he was at the front, and his voice was very loud. And in our chorus, they said, "Take it!" And they stood up and gave us a standing ovation. And so I took it, and I still have that award to this day. And so there's a lot of rich history and synergy between Mutabaruka and myself. So that's some of it.
True, that's good to know. That's good to know. Because you always find, especially probably in the music, a lot of these artists, they have a lot of rivalry between each other, which is, I think, is not very healthy. So it's good to hear positive stories, Yeah, it should be like that. Unity is strength. So it should be like that. So it's a really good thing to hear. Yes, I. So, um, your first tour, where have you been as a first time?
Well, the first tour is Jamaica, really. We tour
Yeah.
Jamaica. We toured Jamaica several times before we left Jamaica for the first time, and subsequently as well. But outside of Jamaica, our very first tour was with Black Uhuru. I was a support act for Black Uhuru. That time, Black Uhuru was made up of obviously Ducky Simpson, the stable member, as well as Don Carlos and Garth Dennis. And so the tour started in Hawaii, actually, We did the 3 islands in Hawaii, and we did 32 states in all in America. It was very successful in many respects. And then we also toured Brazil shortly after. And we toured maybe about 12 countries in Europe. We did some tours in the Caribbean. And we did some spot dates elsewhere too. So yeah, those were my first tours. And then in 1996, Mutabaruka, Kabu, Tone Rebel, Utan Green, and Dawit and myself, we toured Ethiopia to commemorate the centenary of the Battle of Adwa. So we were invited by the government of Ethiopia. And then I think it was 1998, I think it was, we toured Ghana. We were the principal of a Panafest, but we did several other performances across the country. And then in mid to late 90s, I personally organized a tour of the United States with Everton, Blender, Deli Mandea, and Determine. And then, you know, I mean, in 2007, I was invited to do a residency at the City College in Birmingham. And that led to a very good synergy with an entity called Learning Links International. And so we have been touring the UK almost annually, except maybe last year, since then, doing works in the penal justice system, in education, in a whole range of spheres and sectors, both in Scotland, Wales, and in England as well. And that has been quite an interesting thing. We have toured Gambia as an extension of that synergy with Learning Links. We have toured Japan and Australia and New Zealand as well. We have done on our own tours of Zimbabwe and South Africa, on the strength of Crowning, which went to #1 in Zimbabwe, as I spoke about that earlier, which was produced by Bobby Digital and the 2-year-old with him, which had Kokoti and Shabarangs and other people on it. And so, yeah, so I kind of give you an idea into some of the tours, you know?
Yeah, there's a lot of places. You definitely saw the world. Yes, that's a good thing. So new project. I seen that you have a new song out there, new project that you had with your daughter. And there is a little challenge going on the Instagram. Would you tell us about what's the challenge and about the song as well?
Right, let's start with the song, because that was where it all started.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have a 9-year-old daughter who, it's difficult to say it this way, but if I'm to be very honest, and if Micaiah will forgive me, and if permission granted by her, which I always ask for in recent times. Yes, Micaiah, permission granted, thank you. Micaiah is almost like a daughter, well, she's a daughter, but she's almost like a mother, and a twin sister, and a friend, and a confidant, and a business partner. So it's a kind of mystically alchemic relationship that is both empowering, humbling, and inspirational at the same time. So we're interested in what each other think and what we do. And so we share, you know, be it our school work and our experiences and interactions at school. And I do likewise, you know, what is palatable for a child. And so in harmony with that relationship and that approach, I shared the song I was still writing at the time called Plain and Simple. And so she challenged me on some of the lines and wouldn't take no for an answer. So she insisted that I change certain things. So I reverted to the role of a, in quotes, son, and listened to her and obeyed her and changed those lines. And then she inspired in an almost cryptic way some of the ideas. And then she was asking me to explain one of the new ideas that she inspired. We could have screw till the blue and wrinkle, or smile till you spoil for your dimple. And so I did that, and she really found that to be very fun loving. And so me I teach her how Ducky Simpson and Greg Isaacs and Bob Marley with a permanent screw. And so my face and I showed it but she did it better than me. And she's very sheltered and from my daughter is almost like, I said the wrong thing, but my daughter grandparents are medical people. And you know how it is. So them fair mother kind of come from that vibe there. Me is a different type of youth them really. So my daughter kind of very sheltered and grew up a little bit sheltered like, so she don't really know that stepping gorilla part of the thing there. So when me see how she asked
Yes.
to and ring, I said, George, man. And then no, so I took note of that really. I didn't really say it to her, but I took note of it. And so, to cut the story short, she was going back to school and we never want this thing interfere with her schoolwork. So I brought she to the studio to record her part by herself without my part, which was the first we approaching production in that sense. And so she recorded her part and gone back to school. And so I recorded my part. But I was thinking of, just I was saying to Emmanuel and Shiloh, your children, we like to connect with the other generations and to bridge the generational divide. Just like how we bridge the divide between linguistic, cultural, religious, racial groupings. We like to bridge the divide between the generations. And so I was looking at what some of the younger people were doing around the world. And so during that research, I got this idea to do a challenge. And then that note that I put in the back of my mind with my daughter, I decided to share the idea with her and say I wanted her to do exactly what she was doing when we were going through the song. And she said, Daddy, I like that. And we recorded it right away and we posted it. And before you know it, about 20 countries were responding.
Yeah, I see.
All over, so, and then we were getting features in magazines in Africa, online radio stations and TV stations, and the CVM in Jamaica, TVJ, the Cleaner, the Observer. A whole lot was going on and continued to go on. And so that was what gave birth to, so the single gave birth to the challenge, and now the challenge has given birth to the movement. And so there are a lot of things in store. Some I won't say now, but maybe some I can say. So we are on our social media platforms as newly as Plain and Simple Movement, both Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and maybe some others. And we're doing some stuff with Jamaica TV Radio, Jamaica TV Radio. So that's two words, Jamaica one word, TV Radio another. That's on YouTube. My daughter, incidentally, has her own YouTube channel called Think, MIKTHINK. And so incorporating and integrating some of those social media activities to just lend our voice as a father, as a family man, as a Rasta man, as a human being, to empowerment, upliftment, inspiration of our people, especially when we look at what is happening to our women and children in Jamaica and in the world, and when we look at what is happening to Africa and First Nation peoples around the world, and what is happening to humanity, generally speaking, we draw a line and we now take no violation, and we're not interested to violate no one, and we certainly won't be violated. And we call it just plain and simple. It's not up for negotiation. We don't need a debate. We don't need an argument. We are inflexible. We are intolerant where that is concerned. Plain and simple, no violation, zero tolerance. And so within that context, we want to support empowerment of women and children and of human beings, not just human beings, no, but of our environment and the other members within the creational fraternity, the creational family. And so we want to show respect to Mother Earth and respect to the other created beings. We just respect for life, honoring life and being honored by life and so on. So that's pretty much what the plain and simple is all about.
It's an interesting project, yes, and it's beautiful to see there's love between your daughter and yourself, you know. It's a great example out there. Need more example like you know. For real. Give
Thank you.
thanks.
And thank you. And I think that is one of the reasons why people connect to it so much and it has such resonance. And Micaiah is just a lovely, magnetic, humble, caring, loving human being that she automatically and naturally magnetize people towards her. And people just love her and can't get enough of her. And they like the synergy between us and the genuine love and camaraderie and friendship and respect, even with the friendship that we have between us, more than respect, the honor and the reverence that we have for each other. And so that is like a breath of fresh air. And so people resonate with that and find resonance with that and support that and want to be a part of that. And that has energized what we're about. We did a Father's Day special for mytelefy.tv, mytelefy.tv, that was premiered on Father's Day, and that was one of the spin-offs. And there are quite a few other ventures that we are going into and interests that we are accommodating, in addition to our own initiatives that you'll be hearing a lot more about soon.
So hopefully when the whole world reopens up back, we can see more of your daughter maybe with you around the world.
Well, yes, hopefully. And whether or not it open, because no retreat, no surrender. You know. Whether you want to open, yes or no, we have to keep doing what we're doing. We have to be omnipresent by the power of the omnipotent, the omniscient, and the omnipresent. Because we not do our own thing, you know. We are the instrument and vessels of the Almighty. And the Almighty is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent. And so there's nothing that can stop that. So yes, we're looking forward to the place opening up physically. But whether or not that is so, we are going to find ways
Into
and
the
means to
world, yeah,
connect
of
and
course.
to use the virtual space in an event
True.
to still offer our essence, offer our voice, offer our ideas, offer our medicinal healing through the art, the healing arts of poetry and whatever else we do.
True. I want to ask you something. You are a man of words, so you use your words all your life to get through, people, to empowering people. So, what do you think is the situation now? I mean, let me explain what I want to say. It's like musically, I can see a lot of the young artists in Jamaica, they kind of go astray in what they are, you know, um, what they're talking in their music. And to me, I always say, words sound and power, but it doesn't seem to be the case when we're talking to politicians or people, the same artists themselves. They say, "Oh, it's not our fault if things happening within the youth them and stuff like that. You shouldn't blame the music." What do you think? What do you think? Because to me, words are really powerful.
Well, first, I would like to acknowledge and think that I'm a man of word, but I'm also a man of deeds and thoughts and of a positive mind, which is the breeding place, the nursery bed of our thoughts and our words and our actions. And so we think that they all need to be integrated so that we can empower the words and be empowered by the words. We can flesh out the words with our actions. And so that's our approach, really. And so that comes out of a sense of awareness, purpose, and responsibility. As it relates to what some of the other people are doing, I would think that some are not fully aware of the responsibility that has been invested in them, and responsibility within the context of the transatlantic genocide. And so we are called upon to restore Africa and humanity, and that we should use the ability that we have with words and songs and music and arts and craft and the culture and our intellect to heal and to repair and to rebuild and to renew and to resurrect and to requicken and to recalibrate and to realign and to reset and to rejuvenate our people and humanity. Now, if you look at the example of the transatlantic genocide, how Mama Africa was crucified on the international cross of slavery and colonialism and buried into the sepulchre of death and captivity, and how due to the powers of His Imperial Majesty and Empress Menen I, we refused to die. And the tomb became a womb and gave birth to the concept of Rastafari. So we became the only holistic and authentic and indigenous response to the colonial genocide. And so we live that death must die. And we are about breathing new thoughts, new perspective, new concepts, new hope, new love into the temple of the family of humanity. And so this is the responsibility with which we have been invested and that we have accepted. Unfortunately, some people do otherwise. And so it would result in some of the degenerate, negative, unhealthy, not socially acceptable. But you must know that even within the so-called independence of Jamaica, we have still not decolonized religion, language, the parliament, the economy, the theological constructs, the social constructs, the universities, the education, the police, the military. So if we are to be truthful, we are under colonial siege in its neo-colonial manifestations. And so oftentimes the youth have an ability, but they don't have the necessary tools to handle that ability in a responsible way. It's like you're giving a youth a gun and you show him the dangers and the possible benefits if there are benefits to it. And so they will end up killing them own self. And so that is why the youths are genuinely be re-engineered to commit voluntary genocide, doing it through the music and through the arms and ammunition and the other destructive elements and implements that they have been given through political and other means. So we genuinely know we are at war and we have a purpose, and there are enemies and forces who are against this. So we just keep focus on making the four of them cost and just try to accentuate the positive, make it overwhelm the negative. So we don't have no fear. We just do what we have to do, fulfill our purpose, and leave others to do likewise.
True, true. Well, give thanks for, for your opinions, for real. Yes, Yasus, it was a pleasure to have you on the show. Really, really appreciate love your presence and your words. I just want to give you a chance to tell us where they can find you on the social media if they want to get hold of you and see what's your next project and anything else. So if you would like to mention anywhere they can find you, and I will put it down in my description box as well.
Well, okay, thank you very much. It was an honor and a pleasure being here on your show as well. Thanks for the opportunity and for inviting me. Our current single, Plain and Simple, is now being distributed digitally by Zojak Worldwide, so it's on the social media platforms. You can go to yasusafari.com. That's YASUSAFARI.com. There's also yasusafariOnline.com. I'm on Facebook as Yasus Afari, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We have also been aligned with Jamaica TV Radio, so you can find us there as well. And the Plain and Simple movement, as I've just said to you earlier, is now on the social media platforms, and most, if not all of them. And our upcoming projects, we alluded to that earlier. The next one is Jamaica Poetry Festival, the 11th annual staging, which is on Sunday, August 8th. Live stream from Kingston, Jamaica, featuring people like Linton Kwesi Johnson, Ernie Ranglin, Dr. Olive Sr., our current poet laureate, as well as Dr. Velma Pollard, Coco Lorraine from Canada, Stephen Wise, certainly myself, Yasus Afari will be there. A friend of mine from Angola, who's a brilliant poet, a poet from Brazil, Akinsanya, a whole heap of others.
Let's save the date, 8th of August.
Yeah, Sunday, August 8th, and it will be broadcast through the Public Broadcasting Company of Jamaica, PBCJ, as well as PSI Network, KCN out of Anguilla, as well as the African Dream out of Washington, D.C., and many others on our social media platforms. And then our next event early next year is the 19th annual staging of Poetry in Motion, which is on Sunday, August 27th, Sunday, February 27th, 2022. We have some other events coming up through PSI Network out of the British Virgin Islands. You can stay tuned to our pages and platforms for updates on those. Those will be October, November, and December of this year. And if you check us out on the websites and the social media platforms, you can stay tuned to our constantly emerging activities and developments.
True. Before you leave us, would you give us a little gift?
I thought I was dispensing gifts from the inception. What new gifts you require, and your wish would be my command, I hope.
Anything you want to give to my show, like, and even your latest tune, any a cappella.
Okay. Listen this now, my sister. saRas with this reggae.
saRas.
How you pronounce it?
saRas.
saRas.
Right.
saRas. Okay.
Yeah.
The sister saRas. Sorry about that, but thanks for
That's
the
all right.
correction. Right, and we hope that you have continued strength and inspiration to do this important work that you are doing. And so, in light of that, and in support of the empowerment of our family, inclusive of women and children and the man as well, we want to say, plain and simple, zero tolerance to any form of violation, whether to your own self or to someone else, or allowing someone to do that for you. So this is in harmony with the notion of a sovereignty of the individual, as well as the nations and peoples of the world. And so it goes like this. You can't violate for we temper. Let me tell you that plain and simple. You not go violate for we temper. Let me tell you that plain and simple. You could have screwed till you're blue and wrinkle, or smile till you spoil for your dimple. You not go violate for we temper. Let me tell you that plain and simple. You not go violate for we temper. Let me tell you that plain and simple. Oh. And for you now, you can't violate saRas temper. Let me tell you that plain and simple. You could have screwed till you blue and wrinkle, or smile till you spoil for your dimple. You can't violate saRas temper. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that. Let me tell you that plain and simple.
Boom, boom, boom. Yes, I give thanks, Yes, give thanks.
Give thanks.
Yes, sir.
Bless up the youth, them fair and Emmanuel.
Yes, of course, I will.
And we are sending love to the eye. Yes, we're sending love to the eye and the eye them listeners. In the voice of Mick. And so certainly together we call ourselves Mikia. Mick and Yasus Afari. And so we say thanks for having us, thanks for the support, thanks for being a part of what we are doing. And we hope we can link even the youth them together, because we
Of
want to
course.
bridge the generational divide. And
True, true.
Rastafari bless it and set it with honor, love, and prosperity. One earth, one love, one humanity.
Yes, I give thanks and have a great day.
Give thanks, give thanks. Same to you, sis. Honor.